I talk about this every single year, and it's the quarterback roller coaster ride. It feels like every quarterback gets 1 week. And then you're going, oh, okay, Matt Corral. And then it'll be Sam Howell, Malik Willis. Well, it's Desmond Ridder week. Not officially, but that's what happens when it comes to these quarterbacks as we get ready for the draft. There's going to be somebody moving up, and then there'll be somebody moving down. Dan Orlovsky knows that quite well, the ESPN football analyst. You can see him Monday through Friday at 4 Eastern on NFL Live. He joins us on the program. How are you celebrating Desmond Ridder week, the Cincinnati quarterback there, Dan?
Well, not much celebration, because it's 40 degrees and raining in Connecticut right now. So there's nothing to celebrate. The weather's just so bad. Here's my thought. I think you're accurate with that the roller coaster per the week thing. So, I've probably called, Dan, I don't know, a handful of Desmond Ridder games, calling college football for ESPN. I think when you sit down and you have conversations with him, you get really impressed. I mean, that is a strength of his. You sit down, you see his maturity. He's a 4-year starter. He's got a young child. So, he's not living the quote unquote college life. He's very mature. And you sit there and you go, that's the guy that you want, kind of the representation, certainly at that position of your organization. I think Desmond Ridder's a good player. I really do. I think he's an Alex Smith, Ryan Tannehill type of quarterback that mechanically very sound, sneakily good athlete. Is going to make the right throw at the right time versus the right coverage. You got good people around him, going to be a good player. I just don't believe that there are anything physical trait-wise, that you sit there and go, that's a guy that we can't pass on. Like, we're going to regret passing on him, specifically in the first round. So while I think he's a good player, I love the kid. I don't think there's any quarterback in this draft class that has a physical talent outside of Malik Willis that says, man, we might regret passing on him.
Would the Lions go all in at 2 on Malik Willis?
I don't think you should. I really don't. I don't think they will. I don't think it's that time yet for them. I still believe that they are trying to build it the right way, which they've never done, really. And, I don't – Malik Willis, while he's got some of those first-round traits, the athleticism, the big arm, the escapability, the wow throws, the jaw-dropping, I can't coach that into a guy. He's also a guy that is going to be under 6'1". And I understand that the position is different nowadays than in the past. And you could sit here and say, well, Kyler went 1 and Baker went 1. And the difference is that those guys, I could point out, there's still some question marks about them play-wise, those smaller guys. And Russell Wilson and Drew Brees, they're maniacal about their craft. Maniacal. So all the other aspects of their game were elevated. I can't sit here and tell you that Malik Willis is or is not. I don't know. And I don't think the Lions are in the situation or position in the process of what they're trying to do under Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell to sit there and go, all right, let's get the quarterback now.
The Eagles and Saints trade, I don't know what it signified to you, but it certainly felt like Philadelphia is going to give Jalen Hurts 1 more year. And then if they want to go into the quarterback market, they'll have a little extra ammo to do that. Or am I reading too much into what we saw with that trade earlier this week?
I think for Philadelphia, it's just in case. I think that because if they were really, do I believe that they're sold on Jalen Hurts? No. They're sold enough to give him this season, and they've got a good football team. If they weren't sold on him, at least potentially being that guy, they got 3 wins this year. They could have shipped out to Seattle and given Seattle more than Denver gave them. So if that was something that they were like, nope, not going to happen, they would have made the move this year. I think that they are interested in him being the guy for the future, and that's why they are going about their business this offseason the way they are. But they have that extra pick next year as a just in case it doesn't work out. I still think that Jalen Hurts is going to lead them to the division title this year if they get a receiver in this draft over the next 3 weeks. They got to get a receiver in one of those first-round picks to go with Devontae Smith.
You think they'll beat the Cowboys in the East?
Yeah, I think the Cowboys have a rude awakening coming twofold. I think that offensive line got old very quickly and subpar very quickly. I don't know Tyron Smith, how many games he's got left in him. There's question marks at left tackle, left guard, center, and right tackle. Zach Martin's the only kind of sure thing we know. Also, their schedule is brutal. I mean, I could point to six. Remember, they were 6-0 last year within the division, and I believe 6-5 outside of the division. And their outside of division opponents are, off the top of my head, Dan, I think it's like Tampa Bay, the Rams, Buffalo, Minnesota. Like they got some teams that are going to be good football teams that they have to play.
Green Bay.
And Green Bay, yeah. I think San Francisco might be in there as well. So I think that Philadelphia, if Jalen Hurts takes another step, like all we've seen him do since his freshman year at Alabama, and they hit on a receiver in the first round, I think they got a good chance to win that division.
We got an in-house bet. Paulie, my producer, says quarterback's going to be taken within the first 13 picks.
Yeah. Gosh, this reminds me of like that 2012 draft where, I don't want to be disrespectful to these guys, but if I remember, 12 was like Ponder went early, Gabbert went early, Locker went early, and they weren't really worthy of those early picks. Yeah, I think if there was one team that I would sit here and say, yeah, I feel that could be the case, it would be Atlanta. I can make the case that Atlanta should full rebuild, dead cap space, all that. I think that if you're going to do it, it has to be Malik Willis. I think Willis, and I've talked about that a little bit already, but I think there's got to be two things in place if you're going to be the team that drafts Malik Willis. Number one, you have to have a starter that is ready and capable to go play. Malik Willis does not have traits yet that allow him to survive. His offense was very tempo, push the ball downfield, tempo, push the ball downfield. So he's got to grow and develop. I don't use the phrase ready or not ready. I think that's dumb. And then you got to have a coach that doesn't need to win and have the pressure of putting the young player on there. That's why I get a little hesitant with Carolina, because I think that Matt Rule is just, you would anticipate he's got to win some games and show some promise this year. And I don't want the pressure for that. So will a guy go in the top 13? I would anticipate that to be the case. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just, it's strange how these GMs that, they probably say, be patient, going to be patient. And then the draft happens and then they're not patient.
Yeah.
You got Jerry Jones wanting to draft Johnny Manziel. It's like, let's go get him. Then you're like, no. Let's show some restraint here. But that happens every single year.
And the ironic thing is, more often than not, it's teams that don't necessarily know what the answer is if they don't panic. And that's crazy to think. I don't think that there's many teams in the first round there that have that frames of mindset, though. I don't think Carolina can get – I think Carolina would be the one team that I could sit here and say they might get into panic mode. I don't believe Atlanta will get into panic mode. I don't believe Pittsburgh will get into panic mode. Carolina could be the one team that might sit there and go, we're hearing rumblings that this team might take them. If we don't get them here, that's when you get into those problems where you overdraft a player.
Why is there this fascination with Baker Mayfield, with the media?
I think he brings it on himself a little bit, right? He's got the personality that is, very, abrasive. I think that it goes back to the Oklahoma days, and he was the walk-on, and then at the Oklahoma days, and he's the Heisman Trophy, winner, and he plants the flag against Ohio State in a big-time national game, and the antics against Kansas on the sideline. So I think there was a little bit of that immaturity, so to speak, in college that brought it upon himself at a program like Oklahoma. And then, he goes to Cleveland, the surprise pick, the picture replicating Brett Favre. And, then he has some instant success. He breaks Peyton Manning, breaks Russell Wilson's records. And he's just very outspoken and very confident. And, when you're loud as a quarterback, your play has to be louder. And if it's not, you are going to get absolutely attacked by the media. And I think that's probably where we're sitting with Baker Mayfield.
He's Dan Orlovsky, ESPN football analyst. You can see him on NFL Live every weekday afternoon, 4 Eastern on ESPN. I don't know how I know you guys spent a lot of money at ESPN on Joe Buck and Troy Aikman, but the clock behind you has not moved since we've been talking to one another. You're in the makeup room, and usually you got to keep an eye on the clock so you get down to the studio on time. Dan, I'm worried about, some penny pinching going on at the mothership.
Well, hopefully that's not the case. ESPN and Jimmy Pitaro, obviously Joe Buck and Troy. I love game analysts. I think Troy's the best in the game. So, and I've heard great things about him. I'm hoping he sends me some of his new beer. You know what? I'm not a watch guy, Dan. So if I need to tell the time, I just peek at the phone. I've never missed a segment. Don't plan on it. I've never been late to a segment. All those sports centers, as you know, sports center producers run people down here being like, Dan, we need you. I'm like, guys, I'm on in 7 minutes. I got it. So I'm hoping the penny pinching isn't a reality.
But
boss.
I still have nightmares. I had one last night that I showed up for Sports Center late. It's still,
really,
after 18 years of doing it, well, your life is down to minutes. And when you think about it, it's down to the second. When you're on the air, you have 28 seconds for this. You have 52 seconds. It's always, you got to be thinking of the clock constantly. So when my wife says, what time is it? Then I'll say, it's 10:37. And then she'll go, okay, you could have said 10:30. I said, no, hon, it's 10:37. Because I was always, so when I see that, I'm always looking at a clock, making sure, is it moved ahead so you'll be on time? And then that one hasn't moved yet. So that was it. Just a little bit concerned.
I'm like that. Football trained me to be like that, though. I think tardiness is the most disrespectful, or one of the most disrespectful things in the world. So, if it's 10:30, like I'm with you on that. When my wife asks me the time or what time do you have to be there, it's like, hey, we got to be there at 10:30. So we got to leave at 10:10. Well, we live 5 minutes away. We have to be there at 10:30.
Before I let you go, more impressive that Tiger is teeing it up at Augusta, or Alex Smith came back from what he came back from to actually play. I think he was 5-1 as a starter there, coming back from those surgeries here.
What a question. I probably lean a little bit more towards Tiger because the age, because of all the other injuries attached to his body.
Nobody's chasing him on the golf course. I mean, they're chasing him on the leaderboard, but figuratively.
But he's doing it at almost a 50-year-old as well. Alex, I think what Alex accomplished was absolutely incredible, but 15 more years attached to his life to do that, I think, is on top of all those other surgeries. I just find it remarkable, man.
Great to talk to you. Get the clock fixed if you can.
I'll see what I can do. Let you know by the end of the summer if I can get that done.
Okay. That's Dan Orlovsky from the Mothership. He's with Laura Rutledge, Marcus Spears, Mina Kimes. That's every day, afternoon, 4 Eastern.